What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 deep sleepers in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues that you should be adding to your rosters. I've started adding these guys to mine, so hopefully you guys can add them to yours and they can help you out as you go and try and get a championship this season. But before we get into the deep sleepers, go ahead and leave a like on the video. That really helps our channel grow. But I don't want to waste much more time. Let's hop right into the sleepers. And the first sleeper that I want to talk about is Skyy Moore, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's 22 and a half years old, coming off the board as the 127th player drafted, which is good for wide receiver 58. And all of those ADPs, those are coming straight off of Sleeper. So, the thing about Skyy Moore, man, is a lot of people fell into the Kansas City landing spot hype last year. We saw Skyy Moore kind of creep up to mid first round rookie picks, even sometimes, late round rookie picks. But Skyy Moore got hype, man. And you know what? It was kind of deserving because Skyy Moore is a fantastic route runner. He's a fantastic separator. Just some numbers to work off of. He's seeing a success rate of 75% against man, 88% against zone, 75 against press, which are good for, upwards of 86% to even 97th percentile in each of those categories as a prospect. So Skyy Moore has been a fantastic separator, was great at at the college level. He's been somebody who I think that people kind of expected to come in and take the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room over and kind of go from week one. And to me, that has never been the fact. That's never been something that I think Skyy was supposed to do. To me, Skyy always seemed like he was going to be a 2023 and beyond prospect. So with that comes risk, right? Because we are going to buy a guy who didn't show anything in year one. And when I say he didn't show anything, yeah, he didn't show anything. Like Skyy Moore really didn't put on for fantasy football at all. But I do think that the way that the Kansas City Chiefs locker room is set up right now, their wide receiver room is very, very vacant. They just lost Juju Smith-Schuster. It's really just Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Kadarius Toney right now. You would think that maybe the Kansas City Chiefs could add somebody in the draft. I really don't think that they will, at least not very high draft capital. They used some pretty solid draft capital on Skyy Moore last year, but overall, I think Skyy Moore has a chance to become a starting wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, and not only become a starting wide receiver for them, I think Skyy Moore can be the most talented wide receiver on the roster. So, take that for what it's worth. I would be targeting Skyy in my leagues. There's a couple leagues that I have him in that people have been wanting Skyy Moore, and I haven't given him up. So, Skyy Moore, he's my first deep sleeper target. But for my second sleeper, I want to talk about Trey McBride. And Trey McBride, he's a tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. He's 23 and a half years old. He's coming off the board. Same thing. It's 123 players off the board. These guys are coming off late. I say deep sleepers. These guys are guys you can get really deep in your drafts, and that's good for tight end 17. And one thing to consider with Trey McBride is that last year in his draft class, most, if not, I would say most, and some evaluators evaluated Trey McBride as the best tight end in the class. Now, Trey McBride obviously goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Zach Ertz is there. He kind of plays behind Zach Ertz most of the year. And then there was, a couple games on the year where Trey McBride was fantasy relevant because Zach Ertz tears his ACL. Now, you got to consider the fact that the Arizona Cardinals, I think, are going to be moving on from DeAndre Hopkins this offseason. So they're going to move on from DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to open up vacated targets for Trey McBride, Rondale Moore, Hollywood Brown, all of these guys that are already there, right? So you're going to open up a vacated amount of targets. You got to consider that Zach Ertz is, in his 30s, coming off of an ACL tear. There may not be a ton left in the tank for Zach Ertz, which I think Trey McBride was kind of drafted to be the guy to replace Zach Ertz long term. So to me, I think Trey McBride is going to have the opportunity this year. It may not be right away, but he'll have the opportunity this year to step into the starting role. As you get later into the year, obviously Kyler Murray will be back in the lineup and the offense will be a little bit better once he gets into the lineup. So I do think that Trey McBride, man, I think he has the opportunity to be possibly the second best receiving option in the lineup if he does start over Zach Ertz. I think it'd be Hollywood Brown and then Trey McBride at that point. So I want to target guys who have athletic profiles. They're young. You got to consider that tight ends take a while to develop and kind of break out for fantasy football. So this is going to be year 2 for McBride. He is a deep sleeper that you could be adding. And as the tight end position continues, we continue to talk about it all the time. The tight end position is not a very good position after you get past like the top 5 to 6 guys. So after that, you're shooting upside. And I think Trey McBride has a ton of upside that you should be shooting for in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. And then the last guy that I really wanted to talk about here was John Metchie III. And John Metchie, he was drafted by the Houston Texans, and he's 22 and a half years old, pretty much, right? It's 22.7. He's 22 and a half years old, and coming off the board as the 134th player, which is good for wide receiver 62. So the reason why I think that John Metchie is such a solid buy right now for your deep sleepers in your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues. Sorry, I was trying to pull up the research as I was doing it, so ignore me for rambling a little bit. But John Metchie, man, I think John Metchie, he's not a elite separator by any means. He's not. Look, he's not a great route runner, I think, but John Metchie is really good at one thing, and John Metchie is great in the screen game. He's good at running slants, curls, digs. Those are the kinds of things that he's good at. So he's a field stretcher a little bit, and he's quick. Now, he was coming off of an ACL tear, but one of the other things, and the reason why John Metchie is so cheap is he was battling with cancer, and John Metchie, it's all signs point to John Metchie showing back up at camp this offseason. It looks like he's ready to go for the offseason program. But there was times at Alabama where John Metchie looked like he was at least as good as Jameson Williams. And you got to think about how highly we value Jameson Williams. And Jameson Williams only played a tiny bit more than John Metchie did. And the draft capital, it was better for Jameson Williams, but John Metchie was, very top of the second round. He's a top 50 pick in the NFL draft last year. And the Houston Texans have a wide receiver core that, quite frankly, has nobody there that has established themselves as a number one. And John Metchie could very, very easily, especially if Bryce Young, Alabama quarterback, goes to Houston to play with the Texans, he could reconnect that chemistry that he had with John Metchie right back there in Houston. And John Metchie could easily become the number one target for the Houston Texans, especially if Bryce Young is the quarterback there. So I think John Metchie, you could buy him low. You might even be able to find him on waiver wires or scoop him up for very cheap, 4th round picks in your rookie draft that you might be able to go get John Metchie. So I think there's upside with John Metchie. Again, like I said, he's not the most fantastic route runner. He's not the most elite player of all time. But John Metchie, he's a good player, man. He obviously was good enough to be a starting wide receiver at Alabama. He was drafted top 50. And at the end of the day, I want guys who are going to get an opportunity. And the opportunity is there in that wide receiver room for John Metchie with the Houston Texans. There is nobody there, man. And like I said, they could rekindle that chemistry that they had in Alabama if they draft Bryce Young number 2. So for me, those are my 3 deep sleepers. Hopefully I was able to get you guys in and out of here in about 10 minutes for who I think you guys should be buying on your Dynasty Fantasy Football rosters. If you have deep sleepers, let me know who you are buying in the comments down below. And again, go ahead and like the video, leave a comment, share it, do all of that good stuff, because that really does help small channels like ours grow. And at the end of the day, we want to reach a wider audience. We want to help as many people win Dynasty championships as possible. And last but not least, if you guys have not joined the Discord, there's a free Discord. It is in the YouTube banner, or it is linked in the description below. Right there gives you the direct access with me. You can ask any questions you want. I help you guys with roster strategy, and I even ask for your guys' input and help on videos at times. We just did a team audit that came straight out of the Discord. We just did a trade review show. Those trades came right out of the Discord. So if you guys want to be involved in some of these videos and you guys want direct access to me and my opinions, go join that Discord. It's free. So don't worry about that. Anyways, other than that, I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you for taking some time to talk Dynasty Fantasy Football with me today. And I apologize, man. I have stumbled all over my words today. So we'll be better in the next one. Peace out.